time, we're not trying to break the law. We are going to go because we're getting prescribed it just like any other special medication. We're being prescribed it legally, so we should be allowed to use it legally. And the law is in our favor. It just needs to be upheld.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Harmonia Podcast. We are joined here today by the amazing Adam Windish, who is the managing. Look at me! Who is the managing director of Canndr. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Berta. How are you?
I'm grand. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm good.
No worries at all. Adam is coming on today to talk about the medical cannabis card. But before we go into it, I will just hand over to Adam to do a more formal introduction.
Okay, well, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. So, Canndr is an application. It's a patient-centric application to help patients along their medical cannabis journey. We also provide a free medical cannabis card. At the moment, we're still developing out the app. Won't be fully ready for the public until around, we're hoping, September. But we're in the meantime, in the background, we're trying to educate as many people as possible, as many, police, a- any kind of people that is coming in, interacting with patients, to help them identify themselves. That's one of the reasons that we launched the patient card, which is only for medical cannabis patients. It's not for cannabis users or self-medicating cannabis patients. It's for registered medical cannabis patients. The app is also designed to help patients find the right clinic, to find the right products that's good for them, to see real reviews by other patients with the same conditions as them. Um, yeah, I mean, and we're growing with what we're doing with the app. We also have an AI that can help with the patient journey. Obviously, the patients can't speak to their um, you know to their doctors all the time. So this is something that will hopefully help them. I'm a patient myself, so this is very important to me and close to my heart. One of the major things I find difficult as a patient is, every time that anxiety of being stopped and searched by police, or going into a football game, or going abroad. That's another thing. We want this to be an internationally recognized program that patients should be allowed to go on vacation just like anyone else. Shouldn't be discriminated against. Um, yeah, and that's really it, I guess.
No, amazing, Adam. And no, I fully agree. I know myself personally. I generally don't even like taking my medication out with me. I know if I'm going to be somewhere for a long period of time, I have no choice, but I usually just keep what's in my vape and just have that on me because I'm not in the mood to get stopped by police and I'm black. So God knows what they'll do to me, no offense, but unfortunately, they look at us and they immediately just assume, no, that's not a prescription. That is just you trying to use. And I'll be honest, since I know you're kind of still in the trial period, but just having, so the card looks something like this, and just having the card on me already makes me feel a bit more confident. I've noticed that I've actually started taking out the relevant amount of medication that I will need rather than just rationing my medication when I go out because I just did not want to get stopped and be put in a position where I'd have to explain my prescription or even get detained. As somebody who worked in the cannabis industry, I have had loads of conversations with police forces on the phone because they have confiscated medications that belong to patients because they did not believe that medical cannabis is legal. So I think that this app is absolutely genius. I love the fact that there is a barcode. And and
So, do you want me to explain about the barcode quickly? Yeah. So with the barcode, it actually allows, say, you got stopped by the police, and they wanted to verify your. Often they can't call the clinic and verify patients' identities. So this actually allows them to, and if the patient allows them to verify, it's independently verified with the clinic. already, so that saves a lot of time. The police can just scan it, and not only that, as soon as the police does scan it, then it will pop up on your phone to allow you to write an incident report. So if you are having any difficulties with police or security or something, then you can register that, and we will help you deal with that issue. If hopefully there won't be any problems, but as we know, there can be. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stigma against cannabis users, medical cannabis users. As it's just there's just not enough awareness really, and hope we're hoping that with this app we can create enough awareness and provide the education to police and to security and to anyone really that's going to be stopping patients, and giving them that information there on the spot. And then it has all the links to the government legislation and everything. Yeah, so
But I will play around with it later. But like I said, like, just having the card alone has given me the confidence to actually be, because before I would have to screenshot my prescription, I would have to screenshot my last consultation, and just have a tiny bit of medication on me in case I did get stopped, and then I'll be able to evidence it. But despite the fact of us giving this advice to patients, police are still confiscating.
yeah, they are, and they're just creating. I mean, that's a trauma in itself, really, and especially we know there's lots of patients with serious anxiety or disorders or PTSD, and to be put in that position is just making their condition it's a regression, and it's just not fair. It's impinging on patients' rights, on disability rights, on so many things. Want to put an end to it. It's obviously being a patient myself, it's very important to me. I'm even now. I mean, now I'm a lot less, nervous. But going into airports and going to things, I mean, there's just so many people that don't know that it's even legal. I mean, I remember once I had an incident. I won't go into details, but I did call up the National Crime Agency because I wanted to see what their response would be. And I was speaking to them, and I was like, "I'm a medical cannabis patient. This happened to me." And they said, "Ah, you're a medical cannabis patient, are you?" And I was like, "Yeah." They go, "Medical cannabis isn't legal in the United Kingdom." I go, "Yes, it is. It is legal. It's been legal for the last 5 years." And I showed them. I tried to tell them to go on the government website, and they're like, "No." They were just very condescending. We'll take your word for it, speaking to me like they made me feel like I was just, maybe a drug addict. I don't know, which I'm not. I'm a medical cannabis patient. I take it very responsibly. It's what helps me. It's the only thing that helps me with with my pain. So and so many other people are in the same position, and so many other people can benefit from this and not be taking harmful opiates and things like this, and just have a better way of life. And the more people that understand that this is something that they can take and this can make their lives better, the better. That's our mission done, really.
Yeah. On that note, then, how has your engagement with the police been? Because I can imagine that would be the difficult hurdle to get over.
Yeah, it's not the easiest. I mean, I essentially, it depends on the force really, but yeah, we're trying to reach out to as many different forces as possible. Um, but I think in the long run, when the police understand that we're actually trying to make their lives easier, not harder, so they can focus on real crime and not patients that are just trying to have a better way of life and just treat their pain or treat their trauma or anything. I mean, there's a lot of police that actually could benefit from medical cannabis because of the things that they've seen, the things that they've done. So we're not against the police, not at all. We want to work with the police. We want to work with the government. This is a law that the government is allowed to pass. So why not? This is a benefit for the country, not the other way around. This will take pressure off the NHS, not the opposite. So um, I think that once people understand that and there's less stigma. Unfortunately, in the UK, there's just a massive stigma, and yeah, like you said before, people are targeted for what they look like as well, and other medical patients are being targeted for that reason as well, and that has to stop. It's terrible. Um, And yeah, and I mean, I think the more people that are self-medicating, that understand that medical cannabis is the way to go, so that they can have a safe product as well and make it easier. So it's not just police; it's also people. There's a lot of people that don't know medical cannabis is even legal. People that are using it on a daily basis, that are having to go to drug dealers, and you know, so all of these things I think are for the benefit of society at the end of the day.
Wow, wow. You left me speechless. I have ADHD. I'm never speechless. But no, I fully agree with every single word, and I think that like you said, we do want to work with police. We want to work with the government. We want to work with everybody because at the end of the day, this is a medication that can benefit people, and I'm relieved to hear that some police forces are responding well to the cannabis card, because I think the more of them, for starters, that recognize it, then yeah, like you said, it does take pressure off of them as well. Like, why are you arresting somebody and doing all of that paperwork for a medical cannabis user, a person that can evidence they are being prescribed?
Exactly. I mean, unfortunately, there is another card out there that's that was created with a yeah. It was created for the right intentions, I think, at the beginning. I think because when medical cannabis wasn't legal, I think it was created just before it was became legal. To identify. But unfortunately, that causes a lot of confusion. People think that, oh, you could just buy this card, which essentially they can, and then makes them a medical cannabis user. And I've spoken to many patients that have been stopped by police and say, hey, can we see your, and not and not see their prescription, which is not, that's not the law. Obviously, they state that this isn't, instead of a prescription. It's not, but that's unfortunate. It's causing more damage, in my opinion, than I think the intentions were right, and the more awareness around people having to take it, and when it was unaffordable for patients, obviously, I think that the more affordable we can make it, the better. I completely understand. But now that we have access schemes, we have things like Project 21. There's lots of different options for patients. I think it's just causing too much confusion, because then it's people that are genuine patients are getting discriminated against because of that, and that's an issue.
Oh, how much? Okay, do you know what? Understand what you mean, that the intentions behind it at the beginning were genuine, but somewhere down the line, the wires got crossed somewhere, and now you have people that are using illicitly, claiming that they are on a medical cannabis prescription, and unfortunately, most people who use it illicitly would be smoking a joint. They're not usually using, the medical equipment, the vaporizers. Yeah, and so again, what kind of name does that give? Yeah, and what kind of name does it give patients? Like, so
No, that's the problem. I mean, that's an issue. I mean, that's another problem that's another reason that there's a lot of stigma as well, because police just see cannabis as smoking a joint, mixing it with tobacco, just getting high, and that's not what patients want. Patients don't want to be high. Patients want to treat their symptoms. I don't want to be stoned all day while I'm trying to work. I just don't want to be in agony. And I don't want to be sitting on the couch from Percocets, because and that's what they'd rather me do. They'd rather me drive around in my car with taking prescription medication, and that's okay. But that's not okay to have a little bit of THC in your system because you medicated the night before. And I'm not advocating for someone to drive under the influence, but if you know your body and you know that you can, that you've medicated, at least 6 8 hours before, and you're not under the influence, then there's no reason why you can't drive. I think it's discriminatory to say that a medical cannabis patient shouldn't be allowed to drive and should be scared to get a. That's something I still am nervous about. When I drive around, I'm nervous that I'm just going to get stopped for a swab test, things like this, and there just needs to be more education, because I think deep down the police don't want there to be issues, and if they were to understand these problems, then these issues, that there are genuine medical cannabis patients that are you know just good honest people that want to just live their lives in a good way. I mean, that's it really. I mean, everyone has the right to feel good. Okay.
yeah, No, no, I fully agree. And again, I mirror that sentiment in the sense of I don't want to be high all the time. Are you kidding me? I'm busy. I have work to do. So, to think that I'm just sitting around getting high all the time, like it's insulting to begin with. And in terms, so sorry, I know I'm asking so many questions, but I am.
Uh, Well, no, I will say on that, I won't go into the details because it's an ongoing investigation. But when I was stopped once, and this is another reason that I was inspired more to that we were doing the right thing with Canndr. When I was stopped once, I was repeatedly told by the officer who confiscated my medicine to just go outside on the street and buy some more. And I'm like, that was the most insulting thing. So they're like, you can just go buy some more on the street. I mean, like, so they're encouraging me to break the law. I don't get it. Like,
And then when you get detained for buying it on the street and get arrested, like I think people keep forgetting medical cannabis is a class C. Sorry, class B. Sorry, they always change it up and down. I get confused. It's a class B drug. Yeah, and then they've moved it to class B. My brain. Don't even get me started, but that is a 5 to 7 year prison sentence. So basically, this officer is telling you not only to go and break the law, but to risk a 5 to 7 year prison sentence. Are they mad?
exactly, exactly. I mean, it's just crazy, and that just shows you the stigma against medical cannabis, which is a medicine that's been used for thousands of years, and it's only the last 100 years that we've stigmatized it. Really, I mean, I was visiting a facility a few weeks ago in Portugal, and one of the first things I saw in the office of this medical cannabis production was all the bottles on the wall from the 1920s and the 1910s of all these different cannabis tinctures, and it just reminded me of how we're just a small portion of history that's stigmatized cannabis. And as much as I'm not someone that's really against people using things recreationally, I'm actually quite um, liberal in that sense that I think everyone should be allowed to do what they want. I don't think that should be taken against medical. When you focus so much on recreational, you leave out medical cannabis, and medical cannabis is really what my passion is. It's what helps me. It's what helps thousands of people, and potentially could help millions of people in the UK. I mean, we see this epidemic with the opioids, and I mean, my mission is to get people with stigma against cannabis onto cannabis instead of taking pills every day. That's really what I would um, hope for.
No, no, no. I completely understand what you mean. And I think, like you said, education, education, education. Like we just really need to be educating everybody, in particular the police force, because they are the ones confiscating medications. I mean, I know recently I was quite upset by. I saw. Oh God, somebody sent me a flyer which basically was circulating in south of Wales. The police were going around door to door and handing out a flyer saying medical. That's disgusting. Like it just excludes, again, it excludes a whole cohort of patients. Like, there are patients that use medical cannabis, and honestly I wouldn't have been so upset with that flyer had it added at the end that unless this is a
Unless you're a medical cannabis, but yeah, I understand. I respect the law for what it is. If you're not, yeah, that's fine. We're not trying to break the law. We are going to doctors. We're getting prescribed it just like any other special medication. We're being prescribed it legally, so we should be allowed to use it legally. And the law is in our favor. It just needs to be upheld. Um, but talking about education, I think another big aspect of Canndr isn't just educating the police; it's also educating the patient on how to use cannabis correctly, and when to use it, and how to use it, and what you should be doing to get the best benefits out of your treatment. Because there's so many times that I've seen working with patients before. I've run a clinic in another country before, worked with hundreds of patients personally, and alongside doctors. I'm not a doctor, um, but yeah. So we find that a lot of the things that puts off patients, especially elderly patients, is negative reactions, using too much when they shouldn't be, or using at the wrong time, not eating properly, not having the right diet, overdoing it. Say, oh, I feel great from the medical cannabis, I can go play tennis now, but no, you've still got a bad arm. Just you got to take it easy. So I think the more education we can give to patients, the better industry will have as well, not just educating the outside, also internally, and have better treatment at the end of the day. So that's another goal of Canada.
On the funny No, but the funny thing is, it's first of all, it's amazing that you guys are doing that. But it, like you saying that, actually broke my heart because I'm just sitting here thinking, why aren't the clinics doing this? You're prescribing somebody. Why haven't you actually equipped them with this information? At the end of the day, this is a medication that, especially like you said, cannabis naive patients might not know how to use it, how it works. If I were to go to my pain consultant right now and they change my medication, I'm talking about the NHS, and I complain a lot about them for the record, but on this note, I won't. Is when they change my medications, they tell me exactly what to expect. They have a care plan in place of how I can slowly start reintegrating all of, like you said, physical activities and stuff. Because, like with medical cannabis, I tend to find that it is too effective, right? So you think you're healthy when you're not.
Exactly, exactly. That's the issue. I mean, yeah, like I was saying, you think you can go play tennis and you've still got um, it's not going to cure you, it's going to help your symptoms, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing physiotherapy, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing other things, it doesn't mean that you should just like, cannabis only is going to cure me. It's not. It's something that we can use as a tool to have a better life, and if you use it correctly, that's the way you're going to get the best out of it. And I think some of the clinics, to be honest, to be fair to them, are trying their best. It's just the issue is it's a commercial thing. The private doctors are very expensive. You're speaking to a lot of the clinics are working at a loss when they're employing these doctors, and so they're very limited for time. Usually, you probably know from your own appointments that you're really only speaking to them for about 10 minutes at most. The clinics are giving you paperwork to say to help you, but you can't just have a call with them and say, hey, wait, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling so the idea of Canndr is to fill that gap in the middle, to have a kind of an AI assistant that you can speak to, and get that help. Obviously it won't replace the doctor, that we're not trying to, but it can be that assistance to help you. And because it's an AI, maybe patients will feel, especially patients with serious anxiety, might feel more comfortable speaking to an AI than to someone, especially if they're feeling really anxious. And as we know, people with PTSD can really be introvert, especially if they're having going through a hard time. So we don't want to alienate those patients as well.
Like I said, it's fantastic. Like I love the fact that you guys are doing it. I'm still holding the clinic's responsible. You should be doing more. That's just my opinion. Oh no, I don't care. I'm holding people responsible. I am a patient, yeah, and anyways, I have been fortunate enough that when I first went on a cannabis prescription, my doctor did explain everything to me, and he did explain how to vape and all of that stuff. But what I hear nowadays is that intervention has just disappeared, and and it shouldn't be for you to have to fill that gap. It's amazing that you're doing that.
The more patients, unfortunately, it's harder. And from running a clinic in the past, I understand. I understand that the more patients you get, and less, obviously, you can employ more people, employ more. What we did was we trained alongside the Ministry of Health. We trained basically other patients to be patient counselors, and that we train them on interactions with other medication, we train them on everything, so they could actually pair up with other patients and help them on their journey. So you can do that on a small scale, but on a massive scale it's very hard, and that's why the AI is really, I think, is quite beneficial. And we really want to work with clinics to help them fill that gap, and I feel like we add value to the clinics, and the clinics that want to work with us will add value to their patients really as well, and retain their patients instead of just them say, "Oh no, I tried cannabis. It was too much for me. I had a bad reaction." Um,
That's amazing. And just to all the clinics, yeah, get in touch with Adam. Let him sorry, let him help you guys out with this issue because this is an issue. Do you know what I mean? It is an issue. It is something that we definitely need to address. And I agree with you. First of all, it's an amazing concept. So I love it. And I really want to see that definitely thrive. And I definitely want to see clinics working with you to address this as well. Because like you said, you're filling this huge gap for them. So I really would love to see all the clinics' participation.
yeah, I mean, most clinics that we're in contact with are very positive about it. So that's good. I mean, I think the more we can get on board, the better. Really, I mean, that's the I think it would be better for patients. Um, yeah, and also, I mean, another big aspect of the app that I haven't mentioned is also that we are aiming to feed back reports from patients directly to their doctors so that they can, obviously, with the clinic and through the clinic, it has to be, through the CQC and everything. Um, so that they really know exactly what's benefiting these patients so that they can, when they have their 10-minute call with them, they can have a better, better, give them a better advice. Um,
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Like I said, I absolutely think that the work that you guys doing is absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for September for Canndr App to go live. But just so that we can sort of like round things off a bit, what would your advice be, I suppose, moving forward for the medical cannabis industry?
what would my advice be? I mean, really, I think that we just need to create more awareness. I think the biggest thing is creating more awareness to let people know that it's available to talk about other applications, because a lot of the time people thinking about just smoking cannabis, well, sorry, vaping cannabis, or actually they are thinking about smoking. You hear cannabis, they think smoking, like we said before. But really, people need to know about other applications. There's oil, how to use oil properly. There's only a very small percentage of medical cannabis patients in the UK using oil. I think the best treatment, especially for pain, is a mixture of taking oil. Depending, obviously, completely depending on your condition, but a mixture using oil in the evening sometimes, especially if it's affecting you too much. Adding CBD. CBD is very important to medical cannabis patients. It's very important to add. You should look at it like your probiotic with your antibiotic. That's the way I look at it. And yeah, so you should vape for the immediate, for the longevity of the treatment. I would say have oil. So really, to have a hybrid treatment would be is what I would say, and not just look at, oh, what flower I can get and keep on changing to get whatever you think is going to be working for someone might not work for you. So I think that it's stick with it. It's a personal journey. It's very subjective, the way that cannabis works with with the human body. And yeah, there's many products coming to market, and that I think will be beneficial. And just, yeah, be open minded to other applications. Cannabis isn't just flower; it's oils, it's vapes, it's, yeah, there's and yeah, the cards, exactly, the cartridges. There's lots of this. Yeah, taking oil sublingually. There's many forms of applications that we're actually lucky in the UK that we're not so restricted. In other markets, they're very restricted to just flour or just oils, and we should take advantage of the fact that we can benefit from other applications. Uh, yeah, I think.
I fully agree with you. A full spectrum approach is always what I advocate for. And then,
Sorry, and also I think if you're a medical cannabis patient, I think you should be open about it. Talk to your family about it, explain it to. That's the only thing that's really going to break the stigma. Especially people, that are just living normal lives. Explain to them, don't be afraid. This is your medicine. Don't think of it in any other way. As soon as you break the stigma for yourself, you'll help other people break the stigma. That's really my two cents.
That's absolutely fantastic because it just reminds me of, like, so I'm African descent, raised in a very strict African household. And I know at the start, I definitely was not telling my parents I had a medical cannabis prescription. But again, my health started to decline, so I had no choice. And then I, told them, and my mom would always be like, "Oh, will you not try pills, or will you not try anything else?" And blah, blah, blah. Then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let her see me. So one day I was having a very, very bad flare up, and I took, and I mean copious amounts of opiates, and it did nothing. And my mom looked at me. She was like, "How can you have taken all of that medication and it did nothing?" I'm like, "Well, I tried to tell you guys." So then I was like, "I'm gonna go vape." So went into the kitchen to vape. And when I was going into the kitchen, I was like, I could barely walk. At one point, I was like crawling towards the kitchen, and I come out of the kitchen skipping. And my mom's like, "What the holy hell is that medication?" And it's completely changed her viewpoint to the point where when I'm sick now, I'm in a lot of pain. Her very first thing to me is like, "Have you gone to vape? Have you vaped yet?" Like, and this is never something that would have ever come out of my mom's mouth before, but because she's recognized the benefits that it's had on me, it's completely made her change her perception and realize that I'm not just trying to get high. I actually need this medication. So yeah, speaking to your loved ones is really, really important.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and also it could benefit them if, if God forbid they are having some medical issues, and, just because I think that cannabis is a much safer option than a lot of the things that they're being prescribed on the NHS. So if they can try that for themselves, and it's not obviously for everyone, and it's not for every condition, it is for serious conditions, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. But it's definitely better than having were they after some medical cannabis patients.
And last question, I promise. So, what would your advice be moving forward for cannabis naive patients that are considering a prescription, but for a lot of the reasons I think we just listed, are really hesitant to?
Well, I think if they're, depending on their condition, I think, let's say they're a pain patient and they are interested, I would highly suggest them, going to a clinic that and talking and exploring these options. I wouldn't be, unfortunately, when you go to your family doctor, they can be very against it. We're hopefully going to get to the point where GPs will be able to prescribe, but we're not there yet. And obviously, there's a lot of stigma, and a lot of the GPs don't even know it's legal themselves. So I would highly suggest going to a medical cannabis clinic, speaking about it, taking it slow, understand that it's a journey. It's not going to help you overnight. It might help you overnight, but it's more than likely going to be a month or two process before you find your balance. I would stick with it. Try other different kinds of applications first. Don't just say, okay, I got this oil, I tried it, didn't help me, and give up. Don't say, I just got this flower and it. If you don't smoke or you don't vape, and that's something that you would never do, that's fine. You don't need to. There's oils, there's other vapes. If you are going to get vapes, make sure it doesn't have PG or VG. That's only going to be bad for you. That's what's in nicotine vapes, and unfortunately, there are some medical products with that. We won't go into that, but um, but yes, I would definitely give it a shot. Take high CBD to begin with, low THC to start with. Don't go for high THC to begin with. There's a saying, start low, go slow, and that's definitely something that you should live by. It doesn't matter if you think you have a high tolerance. If you're it really doesn't matter. You should start slow. You'll get the best treatment. Make sure that you're eating well. Make sure that you're, if you can, if you, move around, and yeah, there's just stick with it basically, and don't just give up after one medicine. There's not all medicines are made the same way. Not everyone is as high a quality as possible, and I would just say, find out what's in it first. Don't just take what you're told. Look, see what other patients are taking for the similar conditions. That's another way that you can use Canndr to see if people using for something that might not be. It might work for someone and might not work for you. But it will help you get a good judgment. Um, yeah, really, and that's it, really. I guess if I think of anything else.
Oh no, that was a perfect note to end it on. Leave people with something to think about. Adam, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm really looking forward to your launch of Canndr App in September. For anybody that is interested in any of the work that Adam is doing, his links will be in the description of this video. And thank you so much for joining us here today. We look forward to seeing everybody next week, where we will be discussing patient experiences. Adam, thanks so much for joining.
So much for having me, and it was a pleasure speaking to you. And I'm sure we'll speak again soon.